And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Destination Neptune from Griggling Games. Destination Neptune is a game in which players are going to be exploring our current solar system and flying to different planets and establishing bases and colonies there. Obviously, it takes place in the future, and the game takes place around the fact that you're going to play a card and you get to do an action on that card, but all the other players do that also. This is a game of resource allocation and such. Let's take a look at how it plays. Here's the board of the game. Each player has several construction teams that they have starting on Earth, but these construction teams will be able to fly in Earth's orbit up to the Moon, over here to Mercury and Venus, and to Jupiter and Mars, to the asteroid belt, to Neptune, the name of the game, over to the Kuiper belt. Man, Pluto just gets no love. And so you're going to be flying around the board. You'll notice that there's these symbols between two planets. That symbol shows how much fuel it costs to go from one planet to the other, and it always costs one fuel to fly from one location on a planet to another. Fuel is one of the resources in this game. You can always spend 3 money to get a fuel, and money is the other resource, credits. And players are going to be utilizing these to get victory points in various ways. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. Players will also be keeping track of their fame. Fame can be sold for victory points, 15 minutes of fame, or at the end, whenever there's a scoring round, whoever has the most fame will get some points, and the second most fame will also get points. Now, the way the players are going to be playing this game is through cards. There are cards that are sorted out in this game into different decks, and they're all essentially the same cards. It's just that they're in different decks so the distribution comes up right. And players are going to have a handful of cards. And on a player's turn, the first thing they can do is they are allowed to discard a card for 2 credits, and if you really need money, that's one thing to do. You will then also play a card. You can either play a card from your hand, in which case you look at the fame in the upper left-hand corner, and you'll take that much fame. Or you can play one of these cards that's face up over here, in which case you don't get any fame. So let's take a look at the cards. First we have the Fuel Broker, which when you play this you get a victory point, which seems really powerful, but it's because this card is probably the weakest of the cards that are in the game. Everyone else is able to buy fuel counters. Normally you can buy fuel counters for 3 credits, but here they can buy them by paying 1 credit to the supply and 1 credit to the person who played this card. The person who played this card can also buy them. And so there's a lot of, you play this card when you need fuel, or maybe you need money and hope other people will pay you for it. The next card is Attract Investors. This gives you 5 credits, everyone else gets 2 credits, and then people can basically sell fame. 2 points of fame for 1 credit. So if you need money, this is the card to play. Technology, this gives you a free technology, and then everyone gets 1 fame point for each technology they control. Here's all the different technologies that track down here, and whenever you take a technology, you're going to put one of your markers on to show that you have that technology. Some technologies have prerequisites. For example, radiation shields, I need high efficiency installation. For graviton generators, I need fusion power, and for fusion power, I need enhanced fission power. Technologies, if I put one on a technology and I'm the first one, I control that technology. Anybody else who can go there at any point actually and take that technology also, but they have to pay me 2 credits. Now each technology does a couple things. It gives you speed, which reduces the amount of fuel that you need to pay when going from one planet to another planet. So you can see you can get some pretty high speeds, which can let you shoot from Earth all the way to Neptune if you need to, if you have all the different technologies. Most of the technologies also have a symbol on them, and those symbols are used when you're establishing bases and things on planets. They have prerequisites of technology. So to establish a factory here or a city here in the polar regions of Mars, I'm going to need enhanced fission power, and I'm going to need high efficiency installation to put a base there at all. The next card is research missions. When you play this card, you can establish research missions for 1 credit each plus the fuel cost from Earth. To do a research mission, you're essentially placing one of yours there. The first person who goes each of these controls that research mission, and other players can pay credits to come out there too. You cannot build anything in a region unless you have researched that out. You can't go to Mars unless you've done some research on Mars, for example. And that matters for the next card, which is build. Everyone has 3 builds when this card is played, starting with the active player. And players can build wherever they have a research mission. First, you need to build the base, and then you can build factories and or cities at that base. Now, the advantage of these, cities need a certain number of fuel units. Basically, you're flying that many people out. And factories may need and they might need prerequisites. Factories will produce, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But each of these will give, every time a scoring phase happens, you're going to score for factories and cities. The first person to build a colony in each region also gets a bonus point. And there's different costs and things, and there is a player card, a card that shows you all the different costs that it needs to build on the different places. Factories produce. This is one that gives you credits, but then everyone else will get 1 credit for every factory that they have on the board. Other factories will give you credits and possibly fuel, depending on if you have fusion power or fusion power 2. And it depends on the type of factory. So if I have this factory here and I have fusion power 2, each of those factories is going to give me a credit and 2 fuel. So you can get a lot of money in fuel if you have a lot of factories and play factory produce. Then there is a scoring card. When we're done and the last card from this deck is drawn and we go to the next round, and there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 decks, you will score, and you get 1 victory point for every factory and 2 for every colony. Whoever has the most fame gets 2 victory points, and whoever's second most fame gets 1 victory point. And then you can also buy victory points, and you can see it's listed on there. You can buy 4 victory points for 10 or 1 victory point for 1. So having money can be good. So every time a scoring card is played and every time scoring happens automatically, except in the very last turn in which whoever has the most fame will get more points. And you'll keep track of your fame you'll keep track of your points over here. You keep track of your fame on this side. One more thing I should mention is that when you build, you need to fly your rockets out to the different spot, and you only have 3 different rockets. So the rockets need to have fuel to get to the spot where they can build. And then you need to build, and you might need extra fuel to build a city. So those rockets will be flying around, and that's where expenditure of fuel will come in. You'll also be expending fuel to research the different areas. I guess you're sending unmanned missions up. Anyhow, at the end of the game, after the final scoring, whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Alright, let's start with the things that I really enjoyed about the game. First, the cards. I really enjoy how I love the idea of playing a card and everyone else gets to do it too. They get to do something also. So that keeps you interested on every turn. Everyone's turn, what are you doing? What are you playing? Throwing a card away for 2 credits. At the beginning of the game, you do it because you need the money. At the end of the game, you might do it because then you draw 2 cards in your hand instead of 1 at the end of your turn, and you want the game to progress at a faster clip because perhaps you might be winning. The cards give different fame amounts if you play them from your hand, and the fame track is an interesting thing. First of all, some of the cards change. At the beginning of the game, the factories produce and the build cards give you more fame. They're not nearly as useful. Near the end of the game, they're much more useful, and so they give you less fame when you play them. And there's some, oh, I didn't have this card, I want to play this card, but somebody might play that card. And you always have the option of grabbing a card off the ones that other people have sold for 2 credits. So it's really interesting, this back and forth in fame. Should you keep it for those points, or should you sell it for a lot of money? Fame, I'm going to live forever. This is a way to get rid of this and get credits. It's a really interesting concept, and I like that. I also like the idea of flying around the board and establishing things. You have the tech tree. Do you want to concentrate on that? Do you want to go out and do research? Do you want to build colonies and or factories? So I think that the science in the game looks pretty cool. It's very realistic, a future science fiction realism to this. It seems thought through. The theme makes sense with the mechanisms. However, there's a couple things that I'm not real keen on in this game. There is the possibility for analysis paralysis, and I don't really mind it as much because that's to be expected in a game like this. There's a lot going on. A few things were a little... they just didn't resonate with me. First of all, near the end of the game, you will be overflowing with credits and fuel, and it just becomes too easy. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because I like when games give you lots of resources and things, but if everyone has tons of resources and there's only limited things to get, it just seemed the end of the game was a bit anticlimactic. Also, because you keep track of score as the game progresses, you can figure out sometimes in round 3, hey, I'm not going to win. Doesn't matter what I do to catch up at this point. I've fallen too far behind. I can try to win, but I just don't think it's possible. So I think some of the numbers, some of the costs of the cards, some of the amounts of cards in the game, I think there might have been some more development that could have been done there. I'm hesitant to say exactly what because, there's a lot of number crunching involved, but it felt a little off, and especially towards the end of the game felt a little easy. That being said, I do think it is a solid game. It's certainly one that has a theme I like, realistic space, okay? That's an interesting concept. Most science fiction is very far in the future. This is something where they're talking about possibly the next 50 years or things that, it's not about shooting people up. It's about exploring. It has a neat idea behind it. And the card concept is pretty cool. So I think if you like the Euro game style and resource collection, you should certainly take a look at this one. I'm just not sure it was completely done. Like I said, at the beginning you feel a crunch. Oh, I only have so much of things I can do. Near the end it's like, credit heaven. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. And also the rulebook says it's a rare thing to run out of discs. In my first 2 games, we ran out of discs both times. And then the third game, we almost ran out of discs also. It just seems like something that, I don't know. Am I playing with people who just are really smart? I know I am because they beat me all the time. But anyhow, cool concepts, a good game, just not great.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.